I never for a second doubted that music would be my life. All I knew was that my sense of balance was bad, so they took me to see a doctor. And that's when they discovered the hearing loss and nerve damage. By the time I was about 16 years old, my career was good. One good year was enough to get pretty far. I went to a professional music school. I studied with a teacher. That's when I began to finally really know all the aspects of music. That's when I established a certain level of competence, and I became a pretty important player in New York in the new music scene. The difficulties began when I was with others, because they'd say something like, David, you're playing too loud. I was but a pretend when it came to talking to people, or so I thought. I didn't know that they knew, but they knew I couldn't hear them. But when it came to music, you can't pretend. That went on. It got better and better until maybe 15 years later, I began making records, and I was so thrilled because people were paying me to record their music. And in the middle on a hot summer day, I went out. I took a break. I didn't have a bicycle helmet on my head when I took a bike ride, and I had a little mild seizure. I fell on my other ear. As I say, it must have been 35 or 40, and that's when the crisis began, because that's when I lost my musical career. I lost all my senses of a connection with the musical world. And that's when I realized I needed to do something, and what the something was a hearing aid. The doctors told me, they warned me ahead of time with the implant that it's not going to work quickly. But I do recall pretty soon, if not within a month after getting it, they gave me a little test. They played sounds, and I was able to tell them that's an A. And they were amazed that I could do it so quickly. That was really the thrill, and that's when I had the courage to get back to playing. The recordings were good. They could have been better, and they still can be. And so for me, paying back for decades was simply bringing to life pieces of music which people would hear. Only been recently because, in part, what we said, I have the courage to tell people my hearing loss. And, in fact, I'm a normal human being in the sense that I'm not normal. No one is quite normal, but I did it and I called it a celebration, in part because I was hearing pretty well for the first time in a while, but also because I was back to performing my friends' music, and these are all dear friends, and third, because I had enough people in the city who I cared so deeply about, who I wanted to hear me play. So it was like a statement that there's a major step forward in their journey. That's what it is. It was the ability to work harder again. The change it had in my life was probably as much giving me back the strength and the courage to move forward. I slowly but surely began to hear with both ears in a way that I didn't know was possible. I was thrilling. I could hear better than ever before.